right after the draft, we made Kurt an offer that included the highest fully guaranteed amount upon signing for a quarterback in NFL history, $53 million. It also included a guarantee for injury of $72 million. The deal would have made him at least the second highest paid player by average per year in NFL history. But despite our repeated attempts, we have not received any offer from Kurt's agent this year. Kurt has made it clear to me that he prefers to play on a year-to-year basis.
A few things stand out. The Redskins made a very legitimate offer, going to $53 million guaranteed. Now, that is about that's hitting the minimum legit offer you can get to, because that was this year's room. But that is the minimum that this offer could be to even be viewed as legit. Yet it was a legit offer. And if you look at the timeline, this was before Derek Carr's offer. So the QB salary bar hadn't quite gone up yet. So the flip side of that, Kirk is very willing to play on a one-year deal, doesn't mind it, and that was their plan all along.
And our guy Mike Garafolo with the Redskins in Ashburn, Virginia. Now, Ian, we'll start with you. What more can you tell us about the talks between the Redskins and Kirk Cousins? Was this anything more than a one-year extension?
No, from my understanding, the actual best offer the Redskins made was 5 years, $110 million, but on an extension. So the Redskins tried to lock him up for 6 years, but only guaranteeing one additional year when you take into account the franchise tag that he's going to make this year, $24 million. So it would have been $24 million, then about $29 million. That's all that would have been guaranteed. The rest of the time, Kirk Cousins would have been simply under the Redskins' control on a year-by-year basis.
Right now, and frankly, the first offer that he got last year, which was $12.5 million per year, reported that last year, that's an offer that he considered worthy of a fourth-round pick, not a franchise quarterback. Whereas between him and the front office, owner Daniel Snyder has had conversations with him man-to-man this spring. That has helped.
When you consider the leverage that he has, consider the fact that coming into next offseason, he's either going to be transition tagged at $28 million, franchise tagged at $34 million, or just set to hit the free agent market. Cousins has incredible leverage, and he just was not, Mike, ready to give that up for some sort of multi-year offer that really was just a one-year extension.
All right, here we go. It's the 17th of July. The deadline has come and passed. Everybody was pretty much taking a look at the deadline on this situation with waiting with bated breath. Pretty much went the way that a lot of people ended up seeing this situation go down. And that is basically post-deadline and no contract extension or negotiation long-term with the Washington Redskins for Kirk Cousins. This whole situation has finally come to fruition for the 2017 season. There's still a couple other things that could end up taking place before the end of this season's runs over. We're going to be fielding all kinds of interesting articles and show topics from here on out, ranging from other deals to trade rumors, and I don't know. I think it would take a really desperate team out there to put together some sort of a trade rumor with this current contract that he's got up, when you can just get into the regular everyday bidding war that it just really kind of depends on the market, man. It really does. I think that if you're taking a look at the future of quarterbacks and the rate in which they're climbing and looking at sacrificing certain draft picks, I can tell you right now, there's no way this organization is not going to take draft picks for Kirk Cousins. And I just don't think there's going to be teams out there that are going to be willing to give them up. It just hasn't happened yet since we've done it, to tell you the truth. And I just don't see any other future organizations out there giving up mortgaging their future for a quarterback. The last time I heard of a team thinking about doing that was the Eagles when it came to, drafting their boy out of college. So, and that didn't happen, by the way. They didn't mortgage their future on that quarterback. However, the Washington Redskins come out of this situation through the deadline, and they're still they still have Kirk throughout the 2017 season. They have him on the $24 million franchise tag, which is going to be good for 1 year. Then after this season, that's pretty much going to be it. It's foreseeable that there's no way in hell that this team franchise tags him a third time in a row, because that's going to be up to anywhere from $32 to $34 million that they will pay him next year. And I do believe that brings that number up to about 77, 78 total that we've paid him. This is not an issue of money. This team, I don't think, has an issue with money. If they're willing to throw 3 franchise tags at a quarterback, if they're willing to throw 2 franchise tags at a quarterback, then it's not a money issue. It's something else entirely. Thoughts on the situation that took place today? For those of you that do not know, and the video here on my channel, you'll see the press conference that Bruce Allen had given. There were only a couple of people that were present at that press conference. If I'm not mistaken, there were 5 people that were there. 3 people that I know that were there was J.P. Finley, Liz Clark was there, and also, and the other one was Mike Jones. Mike Jones was the other individual. Those 3 I know that were there. So according to J.P. Finley, there were 2 other people there, and he announced who they were, and I didn't know who they were. I didn't place them. Bruce Allen had invited some people into a press room that was overlooking practice field. He basically told them that the team had made it through the deadline and they were unable to sign Kirk Cousins. He prepared a press release which was given to the media in paper form, and he basically told them there will be no questions after I read this, after I cover this, and this will be the team's response to what has transpired today. Now, taking a look at that, there's video of what it was that he said, and there's also the handout, and Liz Clark ended up putting it on Twitter, and it's available all over online at this point as far as the transcript that Bruce Allen had read from. And there's a lot of things in that press release. I can tell you right now, there was more thought and more time that was put into that press release than there was actually trying to come to a resolution with this long-term contract. I think that there was very little to no resolution that was given this long-term contract. I don't think this team had any intention of signing Kirk Cousins, and I've said that before, and I've given my reasons before. And it's just, you take a look at the timeline. It's all there. Everything that you need, the evidence of that is in the timeline. This team has lowballed him from the beginning, and they don't have any confidence that he's going to be worth the amount of money that his position demands. Now, the interesting part about Bruce Allen's presser is what it is that you're looking at and what it is that he's saying. What it is that he is saying, it's political. It's very political. He's trying to sway you one way, and it's a huge gamble. And it was a huge gamble with the Scott McCloughan situation, and now it's a huge gamble once again. And I'm sorry, the Scott McCloughan situation blew up in Redskins Park. It blew up in their face. It did not go the way that they thought it would. His wife is still talking online, and she should. I pay attention to what she says, and I laugh at what it is that she says. I think it's hilarious. But this team's come back again with this this team president, and has come out again with another statement that, frankly, I'm sorry, but the media and a majority of the fan base is seeing right through this. What he's basically saying is that we've given him offers, but his silence has told us he wants to be a year-to-year quarterback. He wants to continue to play on the franchise tag, and that's all that he's interested in. And that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. He's claimed that we've given him the richest, an offer that would have made him the highest-paid quarterback in guaranteed money in the league. That's actually inaccurate. That's actually not true. And, mind you, the people that he is comparing that contract to, those contracts had guarantees that were throughout the length of the contract. This offer that he has given Kirk Cousins and his agent is not guaranteed money that is guaranteed throughout the length of the career. It's only guaranteed for 1 year. Who wants to sign a deal that's supposed to be a long-term deal for 1 year? Beyond the 2017 season, that's not what. And why would you want to sign a deal that's going to have you making less in 2019 and in 2018? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We're going to pay you $24 million right now, but come 2019, you're going to be making close to 20. 2018, you're going to be making 22. That's not how this works. They've tried really, really hard to give him somewhat of a legitimate offer, but still have the ability to back out and claim that they did not pay him too much money. And it's not going to work. You were either all in on this kid or you're not. And that's been the onus since his first rookie deal was up. And they've blown it at every single avenue. This team has blown it up, and this is yet another one. This landmark day today on the 17th of July, they have blown this up once again. And I think it's very indicative of where this team stands on Kirk Cousins. Long and the short of it, basically, guys, is the market value on Kirk is at one plateau, and us willing to pay him money is at another. We're not willing to come to an impasse at that, and Kirk Cousins shouldn't want to come to an impasse at that. He wants to be able, and it's not, I don't even think it's a greed thing, and that's something that the media has kind of been spinning a little bit to see if they can play in that area. And I don't think a lot of the fan bases and a lot of the beat writers are buying it. This is, I mean, I think that what's going on at Redskin Park has been all too familiar. We've been able to predict a lot of their moves. And I think it's coming out now. They're trying to put the onus on Kirk Cousins of being a greedy player. And I don't think it's necessarily working the way that they thought that it was going to. I'm seeing a lot of entities out there, a lot of media out there that is actually siding with Kirk Cousins on this, and rightfully so. If you are anti-Washington Redskin establishment, then yeah, you're going to paint Kirk Cousins in a very positive light. And I honestly think that for once, this is a situation that Kirk Cousins deserves. He deserves to be paid what it is that he's worth. He deserves to be the belle of the ball at this point, given the 2 seasons that he has had with this organization and the turmoil that has transpired. I think that he needs to be compensated fair market value for his talents, and he's not going to get fair market value for his talents as a Washington Redskin. The team is not willing to give him that kind of money. Now, the fan base is a little bit split on this. I think that there's an argument. I think that the argument that needs to be made here, there's a lot of fans out there that don't think Kirk Cousins should be on this team. I am one person that will put my hat into that category, but for very different reasons and very poignant reasons that are listed in other videos. You can go watch those. I won't go into too much detail on that. But I think what's important to understand is that the fan base is not necessarily, they don't necessarily think that Kirk Cousins is not worth the money. I think what a lot of these fans are trying to say is that the Washington Redskins should not pay him this kind of money because they don't feel that Kirk Cousins is at that, they don't feel that his talents equal what the fair market value is dictating. And to a certain extent, I can kind of understand that argument a little bit. I do believe that if you want a quarterback in this league and if you want to be successful in this league, you're going to have to pay for it. It may be a little bit too much for my blood for very different reasons, but this fan base has tried to attach his performance to the reason as to why he's not, or he should not be worth the money that he's asking for. And some of the arguments they've come up with, I haven't necessarily agreed with. The one thing I've heard on the DL is from a lot of these beat writers that people within Redskin Park are hinging a lot of this thought process on the New York Giant game. They've taken a couple of these games where his performance was sort of lackluster, or the performance of other individuals, which the New York game was. There's a lot of things that went wrong in that New York game, and it wasn't all Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, I actually gave him a pretty good review out of that game. I thought he played really, really well with the talents that he had and the way that they were performing that day. Everybody underscored that. Everybody was underplaying that game. So Kirk Cousins and his performance, I wouldn't necessarily throw all the blame on him, but that's one of the attributes of being a quarterback is unfortunately you got to bear the brunt of that cross, and that's exactly what happened. And this team is hinging this deal on games and performances just like the New York Giant game, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, if that's what you want to evaluate his talent on, then that's fine. Is Kirk Cousins the second coming of Joe Montana? No, he's never going to be. You know, is Kirk Cousins going to have the type of performance of a Russell Wilson? No, probably not. You know, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about fair market value for the average of his of a quarterback at his level right now. What do you think? What do you think a Kirk Cousins contract would be next to a Russell Wilson contract should he be up this year? I mean, I can tell you right now, Russell Wilson's going to garner a lot more money than what people are throwing at Kirk Cousins because he's already won a Super Bowl. He already knows what it takes to win. He's already had the numbers based on the team that he's had surrounding him. Now, Kirk has not had that team. He hasn't had that organization, and he's been able, in my opinion, to do more. He's just asking for compensation for that, just like anybody would. Unfortunately, he's not going to get that here. So I think there's a lot of fans that are taking a look at his performance and saying, you know what, he's not worth the money because he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do that. That's not necessarily the hat that I'm throwing my camp into. There are reasons why I don't think I would necessarily pay him. Frankly, I probably, if I would have been looking at going with Kirk Cousins, then this was a situation that should have been done at $19 million before our first franchise tag. That's really when this should have been done. And as soon as this deal went from $19 million, which was the beginning of this season, the minute it went from 19 to 24, I was out. I had pulled out of the hunt for the Kirk Cousins quarterback position because that was way too much money for Burgundy Fly Guy to want to pony up for a quarterback. This should have been a deal that should have been taken care of a long time ago, and it should have been at $19 million. And I'm sorry, but that offer was on the table by his contract. It was on the table by his agent for an entire season. The entire 2016 season, that offer was on the table for $19 million. $19 million he could be playing. But again, this organization does not see the talent in Kirk Cousins, so they're not going to pay him that kind of money. That was when we lowballed him at $12 million, I believe. Now, I honestly think that there is an element of this situation, and I had mentioned this before in a previous video, that I honestly think that the Washington Redskins were going to have to come to the table with a very, very impressive offer. Some people said that, you were looking at having to possibly come to the table with a 26 to a 20, anywhere from a $26 million a year deal with anywhere from 70 to 80 million guaranteed would have got your foot in the door. Got your foot in the door. Would you be willing to pay $28 million to a quarterback with 70 to 80 million guaranteed? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, Brandon Carr didn't sign that kind of a deal in Oakland with the guaranteed money. Unfortunately, what you're not taking into consideration is that Carr's relationship with the Las Vegas Raider organization is a hell of a lot better than the relationship between Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins. Kirk Cousins has been lowballed at every single gasp with this football team, and the tumultuousness and the infighting and the press and the general manager and Robert Griffin III, and you throw everything in there, plus the fact that nobody's given this kid a chance. He's had a lot of adversity, not only just on the football field, and when you got a team that's sown the relationship that it has with Kirk Cousins, I'm sorry, but Kirk Cousins is going to say, you know what, that's a deal that a quarterback makes when he believes in his organization and his organization believes in him. We don't have that here. Kirk Cousins doesn't have that luxury, and I don't blame him for saying that. I would want a little bit more from this organization as well, because let's face it, you're going to have to continue playing your career in an organization that wants you out. They don't want you behind center. Who wants to play with very little guaranteed money? The Carr situation is very, very different. Now, this deal, we're coming in at, taking a look at it, $58 million guaranteed, 5 years and 110. It was quartered about $22 million a year, and there was no guaranteed money beyond 2017. Now, the $50 million guaranteed that Bruce Allen is talking about, I don't understand. He was talking about the offer in which it was made. Now, the offer in which it was made before the Carr deal came out. So it's hard to sit there and say now that he would have been the highest paid quarterback at the time. Unfortunately, that Carr deal, that kind of threw their plans under the bus as far as I'm concerned. I'm really surprised that they're hearkening back on that previous deal right after the draft, because it was before Carr signed his. And if that was their idea of a lucrative deal, well, then take a look at what happened with Carr. And mind you, this is the Washington Redskins that are waiting this long. It's not, as far as I know, there have only been 3 offers that the Washington Redskins have made to his agent, and this is in 2 years. 3 offers. That's how badly the Washington Redskins want this quarterback. They wouldn't let Josh Norman out of the building. They wouldn't let Deshaun Jackson out of the building. Offer after offer after offer to get them to come here and to stay here. We don't have any intentions of breeding our own in this organization. We have none whatsoever. We've got one of the highest paid by far corners in the league. Somebody who's probably not even worth the money that we're paying him. And we've got a quarterback who has given us 2 back-to-back winning seasons that we're not willing to even come close to paying. There's so much to this. It's unbelievable. Now, mind you, the Andrew Luck deal, they threw the Andrew Luck deal in there. The Carr deal. Now, the Andrew Luck deal was $87 million guaranteed. That was $87 million throughout the length of his contract. And then Carr's deal was $70 million throughout the length of his contract. And then we come in with a lowball offer of $57 million. And that's nothing beyond 2017. Who in their right mind would return that phone call? I wouldn't return that phone call. Kirk Cousins didn't return that phone call. So by lowballing him and knowing he's not going to make that phone call, the Redskins organization is saying, hey, we gave him an offer and he decided not to take it. He's not interested in playing with this organization anymore, and he's greedy. He only wants to be a one-year deal guy. Well, yeah, for you, I would be too, pal. I'm not a big fan of this general manager right now. And I got a video coming up on him later on that... frankly, and I've mentioned on a rant before, and I won't go into my rant now, but I don't understand how it is that this guy has a job. He has failed at everything that he has touched in the last 2 years, 3 years. And he still has a job there. This is very reminiscent of Vinny Serrato. Not as bad as the Vinny Serrato deal, but it's Vinny Serrato Part 2, man. We're not going to win with this owner. We're not going to win with this president. And yet here we are. We can't get rid of the owner. Now the idea is, where do we go from here? This is the part that interests me. This is the part that I've been racking my brain over quite a bit, and it's the part that I'm having a hard time understanding. We've got a quarterback that we have no intention of keeping here. That we're not going to throw him an offer that he's going to accept, because we don't want him here. We want to be able to throw him an offer so that we can tell the media that we're giving this kid offers and he's turning us down. Therefore, it's on him. But we don't want to give him a deal that he's going to sit back and say, oh, you know what, maybe I'll take that money. Maybe I'll take that long-term security. We don't want him here that long, so we don't want him here at all, but we want to be looking like the good guys as well. So if you have no intentions of bringing him here, if your talent evaluators, whoever in the hell those talent evaluators are right now, and you've evaluated the talent of a Kirk Cousins and you have weighed that his talents do not equal the amount of money that his position demands, then you have known for a while that you are not going to move along with Kirk Cousins. So you had to have had an alternate plan. What is your alternate plan at quarterback? That's the question. Which direction do we go from here? And as an organization, I have no idea. If we're taking a look at track record, then I'm telling you we're taking a look at free agency. We're taking a look at paying somebody an exorbitant amount of money for maybe a 1 year or 2 year deal to come in here to play quarterback and hopefully get us to the promised land on a 1 year deal or a 2 year. How does that work exactly? Because if we're taking a look at that, some of the free agents coming up, the only one that seems like they'd be worth it, the only one that seems like is going to be worth it is going to be the quarterback out of New Orleans. I mean, do you want him? A guy who's pushing, what, 40? Or is he 40? I mean, who knows? Drew Brees, could he come in here and play? Absolutely, but where is this any different than some of the other 30 to 40-year-old quarterbacks that we've brought in here? I seem to recall Donovan McNabb coming in here and being the gist of the promised land for us, and take a look at where that landed us. And that was with a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. No, I'm sorry, a 2-time Super Bowl winning head coach that ended up going with him. We don't have a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach at this level right now. And I hope Drew Brees isn't the answer. The only other answer to this is going to be the draft. To draft a quarterback, which is going to put us squarely in the hunt for something that we have already had this whole time that we've refused to invest in. It's a no-win situation for the Washington Redskins that they have put themselves into. There have been avenues to getting out of this situation, and the team has refused every single bit of those outs. So we are in for no general manager, no franchise quarterback, and there's really no sign of this organization turning around by 2020. I don't see it happening, which means we're going to be looking at 2017 with quarterback Kirk Cousins that knows he's not going to be here after 2017. A couple people on 1 year deals are going to do fairly well for us, but what's going to happen after that? We'll have some freed up money now that Kirk Cousins isn't here. And mind you, Kirk Cousins would have walked with no compensation whatsoever, unless there's a trade deal coming that I don't know about, and I doubt that's going to happen. So, what's our futuristic plans for a quarterback? It's no quarterback on the roster. Everybody in their right mind knows that there's not a quarterback on this roster that can start for this football team that's going to get us anywhere near Kirk Cousins' numbers. It's just not going to happen. And then you're going to be looking at going into the draft and giving our draft history. We're willing to give up future draft picks for a quarterback that is unproven. So that's going to do it for me, guys. That's pretty much all that I've got. I'm not surprised that the situation ended up the way that it ended up. I pretty much said from the beginning that this was probably going to happen without a long-term deal in place, just given what I knew of the organization, given what I knew of what Kirk Cousins was demanding, what his position had demanded, and I didn't see any efforts. We've seen efforts on this organization to bring players in here to perform, and we just weren't giving forth that effort. We don't feel that his talents are worth that, and that's fine. So let's move on. Let's give it a 2017 go. Let's start taking a look at quarterbacks, a quarterback that our head coach can bring in here and win with, because he's going to have a say in this now. And it had better work. That's all I got to say. It had better work. So we'll catch you guys next time when I come out with another video. We'll see you.